This one is for the bouncers. Big monkey man.
Can you hear me? You all hear me in the back? Cool. Thanks, JP. J to the P. All right, y'all. Welcome. It's another Thursday. I don't know about you guys, but it goes quick. Feel like I was just here seeing y'all. And that's not a bad thing. But life goes by fast. So let's sink into life. So if you're brand new, my name's Joe, and this is the Sit.Feel.Heal Meditation Center and Santa Cruz Meditation Group. Been going as a group for almost 2 years, I think. 2 years plus, maybe. Has it been that long? Crazy. So cool. And we just opened up the center in April. So, yeah, good stuff. So I'm glad that you're here. If you're first time, the restroom is right around the corner to my left. There's pillows and blankets at any time you want to get comfortable. Lay down in the back, take up space, get comfortable at any time. I think that's it. Yeah, there's tea at the front. And there is a smoking section down that alley over there, way in the back. You guys got to hide over there, you smokers. It's all right. I have a puff once in a while. Happens. All right. So we usually start with a little arriving meditation. So just taking a couple moments to settle in. Now guide us through it. Just feeling our feet, feeling the body in the seat, making any adjustments if needed. Yeah. And especially if it's the first time in the space, taking a look around. Looking above everybody. If you make eye contact with somebody next to you, you can give a high five or just a head nod. You know, don't have to play look away. Oh, sorry. And you can leave your eyes open. If you find a place that feels soothing to rest your eyes, or gently close your eyes. And whether your eyes are open or closed, just noticing. Noticing what's present. Noticing the energy of the mind, of the body. Sometimes when we pause, we take a moment, we notice that The mind hasn't followed suit yet. Still a lot of things lingering from the day. We don't need to push that away or make anything different right now. But maybe let's just give those thoughts, those feelings that might be here right now, some space just to be. And how we do that is by just shifting focus and awareness back down to the feet, the body resting in the seat. The body has arrived in this chair. There's no more effort needed. You're here. Noticing this breath. It's, dear friend, the breath, just breathing, all on its own. No need to change the way you're breathing. It's the breath coming in, going out. And just notice. Noticing the sounds, taste, smell. Seeing, even with the eyes closed, there's shapes, there's colors, mental images or stories, movies left over from a thought. Because yes, there's still thoughts, still feelings. And it doesn't mean that you're doing this wrong. We're just arriving. Welcome. And before we transition or shift awareness from inward to outward, I want to invite you just follow along. We'll do 3 breaths together. So on the count of 3, breathe in through our nose and just let the air fall out the mouth. On 3, 1, 2, 3, in and let it go. Again, slowly in and let it go. One more really big in, fill up the whole body and hold it at the top just for a moment. And on the out breath, make some noise. Before we transition, take a moment to see what comes up when you hear the word effort. Effort. What comes to mind? Effort can feel like a striving, a pressure, or sometimes even a shame in modern life. But in this path that we're on, and it isn't about the hustle culture. It's about skillful effort, a middle way between forcing and collapsing. Love that breeze, but then all of a sudden, allergies, sinuses, and everything's watering and stuffing up. Whoa. So, what comes to mind? Effort. Always. Always. Okay? Anybody else? Comes to mind when you think of effort? Focusing energy on something. Yeah. Yeah. Doing the footwork? Yeah. Doing. Yeah. Yeah. And I in the Eightfold Path in the Buddhist tradition, the sixth factor is effort. Why they call it wise effort. I never liked the word wise or right effort. Felt like this is the right way, or I had to be smart. I like skillful effort, and it comes right before the practice section of the Eightfold Path. And I'll speak more to this Eightfold Path thing, but I've been reflecting on it a lot. And this word effort, and like I was saying, it can be pretty rigid effort. It's like effort you put in, right? But when I speak to effort in this context, it's where are we pointing? Where are we steering our practice? Every time someone opens a LaCroix in here, I see everybody go, Very activating. It's like, wow. I did it before in the back. Everybody's like, what? Then all the LaCroix are gone. So a reframe on this effort, right? It's just in the practice in I think it's how are we showing up for ourselves and what is appropriate and where do we need to steer our energy. And I think I've said it in here before, like practice, especially spiritual practices, I feel like the best way to hold them is like you're holding a dove or a baby bird, lightly, gently, right? Not too tight. We know it will happen. We don't want that. But not too loose either. I mean, don't call PETA on me. I'm not going to be holding a dove. But you know what I'm saying, right? That metaphor for just holding it, enjoying, just same way with our practice. But I've been reflecting on spiritual practices and how we can treat these a lot of times, these things of doing, especially efforting. And sometimes, I've experienced it myself, and maybe you've experienced it, and I speak to it a lot because I have experienced it, is that the spiritual paths can feel a little bit more like a self-improvement project or checklist. Yeah. Did I go to my therapist today? Did I say all the things I needed to say? Does anybody do the whole dialogue in their mind before they see their therapist, like what they're going to say? Is that just me? Like, okay, and how are they going to respond? Yeah. And then I don't tell them half the shit that I should have because I'm too scared of what they'll say. when we think about it in this way, these spiritual paths as, some kind of self-improvement and just another checklist project, I feel like it can hinder the freedom that is available here for us. The Buddha himself, I don't feel like he offered a to-do list, but he gave us a way of meeting and seeing the human experience through a more wise and compassionate lens. And I've been reflecting on this a lot around, like when I say the Buddha as a person, like I've been really reflecting on him. And when I think of, because he was Siddhartha Gautama, and we talked about it last week. I was talking about the story of the Buddha a lot of it. And I always, I don't know why, but every time I think of him as a person and like have dialogue in my mind around Buddha's as a person, like a East Side skateboarder from East Side Santa Cruz skateboarder, some dude that I hung out with. So, talk like I don't know why. Anyway. But it's how I relate, and I have to do that. I got to make it practical for me because it can get too out of touch. And this practice isn't about getting out of touch, it's getting in touch. It's turning inward. And I do relate to these teachings because of the like I say the things that were rumored is that he said, But I relate a lot to, and I've been thinking about this a lot, these Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Path of the Buddhist tradition. And I feel like for me, these are just reflections, and these truths are that there's pain. The pain is inevitable. And there's suffering. And we suffer from the pain. And the pain is optional. Right? The first truth is just there is suffering. We suffer. We suffer from pain, But then there is a way out of the suffering, and it's our relationship to the pain. So that's what these reflections are. It's not like we don't have pain anymore. We have pain, but we suffer a little less. And I'm speaking of physical and emotional pain. And these are just reflections. Like, well, what do you think about that? Yeah. What is your truth with that? And even four truths, right? These are the truths. What is your experience to that? Can you relate with that? Do you feel like or you or me, or your experience, that you can create more suffering around the pain in your life? I know I do. I do by trying to avoid it. I do by trying to cling on to pleasure and push away pain. This is the second truth, that is the cause of our suffering, that we're constantly trying to avoid and grasp on. And I don't see these as commandments, this Four Noble Truths that lead into this Eightfold Path, and the factors of as we practice, as we show up for ourselves and we reflect on these, the way we are with the pain in our life, the running, the grasping. these factors of the Eightfold Path is basically we're waking up to the truth of the human condition, that there is pain and there is suffering. And the only thing that we have control over is our relationship to it, our response to the pain and suffering in our life. So again, it's not a checklist. They're invitations just to reflect on. And I invite you to, and it's not going to be a talk tonight on the Eightfold Path. It's just kind of taking these as a way to, almost like a North Star. You know, when we do this practice, when we show up for ourselves, when we start changing our relationship to the way we show up for ourselves, changing our relationship to the pain, and like what the Buddha was offering is a more wise and compassionate way of just fucking ouch. I feel is a wise and compassionate way to hold the way you feel. Validate our pain, validate your experience. That this Eightfold Path, these are the things that we just they start arising in our life, and we start pointing our bow to these places, the ethics, the wisdom in our practice, these three aspects of the Eightfold Path. And how we support this, I feel, is through there's all these lists too. And this is another thing with when I got into this, got into practicing meditation through the Buddhist lens, I was just confused most of the time because there's a lot of numbers and a lot of lists. And I didn't know what the fuck was going on, but I knew something was shifting inside, you know? But there's these four foundations, and these are the practices that help support, to help us to support these reflections, to get more in line with the wisdom that is here waiting for us, to meet ourselves in a different way, to get more in line with how we want to live in an ethical way. And when I'm saying ethics, is just, you know, the way we speak to ourselves, the way we speak to others. The relationships that we're in. And none of this is meant to be mastered. We don't need to master anything. I feel like it's just a reflection, and to try it on for yourself is basically what the Buddha said, is just try this out. Check it out, you know? That's the East Side dude. Just check it out. It's killer, bro. There's pain and there's suffering. Yeah. So yeah, I don't see these as commandments or checklists just to check off. And the Buddha he's like, don't see for yourself. And just reflections of the human conditions and how we want to live. It's like a map that unfolds when we start paying attention. This map of wisdom, ethics, and practice. And it shows us a way to live with more clarity, more care and connection. And sometimes the clarity it's painfully aware. The clarity is super clear that I've been causing a lot of suffering in my life. Yeah. And we don't. So when it comes to these the foundations of our practice, this is where, you know, it gives us some information on how to practice. So it's not just a path that we're thinking about. It's a path that we're living, we're walking. It becomes who we are, not what we do, right? And this is again where that effort part comes in. And they're not just meditation techniques, they're ways of practicing presence. And this first truth, not truth, the first foundation, we just did it. It's just bringing our awareness back to the breath and body over and over again, over and over again. The mind thinks is what it does. So this first foundational tool, this practice, the invitation, is just to know when there's a thought and come back to the feet, seat, sounds, the breath, and maybe an invitation just to rest for a moment, if for only a moment. And again, it's just a practice, right? We're not trying to nail anything. And what I do like about it too is that this mindfulness tool of bringing it back to the breath and body, it gives choice. We get choice of where to rest our awareness. Maybe it's the sounds tonight. Maybe it's the way the feet feel on the ground. Maybe it's the way the air is touching the skin. Just something that brings you back when the mind is drifting and fucking God knows where. Yeah. It'll drift. No matter how far you've gone, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you saw it, and then you get to return the awareness back to the feet, the seat, the sounds, or the breath. You get to choose. Or when the mind is stuck, just stuck in the suck of experience, don't want to fucking feel this way, right? And the more we push that away or try to change it, it just takes up a lot of energy, a lot of effort that is unskillful. So this first foundation, and we do this a lot, and this sets up the whole path so that we can begin to give ourselves space. The nervous system starts relaxing, we start calming. And then the second foundation is where it gives us the tools to start exploring the mind itself. So when we have this space of, okay, nervous system's here, that part of our brain is back online, the fight, flight, or freeze isn't fucking just like, oh shit, we're settling in. That's when we get to explore. We can see clearly how everything we experience has these flavors, we have an opinion, a preference. In the Buddhist realm, they say everything we experience is either unpleasant, pleasant, or somewhere in between. I don't really use those words, and you can use any word you want, but you can see there's a sound, right? There's a sound that comes like, there's a hell yeah, oh yeah. You feel yourself leaning into it. And then a fucking siren comes like, oh, hell no. The fuck, right? And then there's a whole story that goes to that, right? A lot of past stories that come up. No shit. Who's holding? But we just notice the mind does that. And it's been doing it for a lifetime of everything we experience: sound, sensation, taste, smell, seeing, right? And it's okay to have preferences, and we like what we like. But when we get really tangled up and it needs to be this way and it can't be that way, is when the suffering starts happening. So we just start noticing in everything we experience that we have these flavors, these attitudes of the mind. And especially when there are thoughts. You do the same thing. It's a pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Hell yeah, hell no. Or there's somewhere in between. That neutral place is like, that could be scary too for a lot of people. It was for me. Or it was just, this is fucking boring shit. I don't want to be neutral, right? But the more I practice, I'm like, oh shit, that's contentment. It's like this word equanimity. There's some balance here. I'm not pulled in a million ways right now. There's some neutrality here. This is a perfect place to practice. I feel like we have a nice, this is like our clubhouse. It feels like a clubhouse, right? And it's hectic out there, right? It feels it's a great way to lean into what feels good and then get all jolted and then come back, because this is what life is about. And the third foundation is more where we start exploring the mind itself. And this is for me where I kind of lean into more of the emotional awareness stuff, the emotions that are coming up. So when in our practice, a lot of times, especially if you've been practicing for a while and giving yourself some space, all of a sudden there's tons of feelings and emotions that are coming up from all fucking sides, all nooks and crannies, all these things that we've been running from for a lifetime, here they are. And we're just thinking the whole time or feeling the whole time. And it's like, shit, I lost it, right? Where in the beginning, our nervous system was just relaxing and I felt good. But the more space we give ourselves, there's a trust within us that goes, okay, now you can hold this. And this is where we can begin to heal. When we begin to feel what is arising, when we notice that it's not pleasant, but we don't try to push it away. And the wisdom that arises, that it comes and goes. The wisdom that comes that it's not our story now. It's a story of the past. And we can gently let go of that story and really pay attention to the story that is happening now that really matters. And we don't dismiss the past. We can't change our past, but we can change our relationship to the past, and especially the feelings and the emotions that arise from past experiences, big and small. I know we're all capable, so we can be a little bit more free and we can meet our experience with a little bit more wisdom and compassion that is here waiting for us. And again, this Buddhist tradition, and it goes into the fourth foundation, and it really gets deep with the lists and shit. It's like, so check that stuff out if you really want to. There's like 5 hindrances. There's the all kinds of stuff. But really, I feel like it's just tools to give ourselves space. These are practices just to try on, to support our journey inward, our journey to freedom, free from the reactive states that we get in from the difficulties in life. But it doesn't mean we're free of them. Life is still life. And when we can do this, we also create space and room for the joy and the happiness that is right here. but we barely see it because we're so stuck in the suck a lot of the time. And we can learn to experience the happiness and joy that is right here in every moment without clinging to it. Again, the balance. 10,000 sorrows, 10,000 joys. And so when it comes back to this effort, this is where these practices, when I'm offering a meditation, you can follow along as much as you'd like, but you get to explore the way that you want to explore. And especially on your own time practicing, maybe it's just breath and body. Maybe we just need to keep creating that space. Maybe when there is space and those feelings come up, you have enough space to be curious about them, letting go of that story of why I feel a certain way and getting more in touch with what am I feeling? Where do I feel it? So you get to choose. And when it's too much, go back to the basics, right? It's just we're learning to meet ourselves, to have a different relationship with ourselves. And look directly at where we are in life, where we are living, and meet ourselves right where we're at. Perfect, with room to grow. So back to this word effort, it's not rigid. It's not how much are you doing. You know, I've done a lot of practice, a lot of meditation retreats, you know, and I was really proud. I remember one time I was on retreat and I sat for 4 hours straight. Fuck yeah. Felt like my arms were like way back. It was trippy, but anyway, I really wanted to tell my teacher how proud I was, and I wanted them to be really proud of me. My teacher was like, I've seen chickens sit longer than that, and they don't look free. I'm like, God damn it. So really what I got from that is it's not about the quantity, it's the quality. How are you meeting yourself? How are you holding yourself in your practice? Not too tight, not too loose. And what are you willing to step into that maybe is a little edgy, you know? Maybe you want to check out a longer periods of meditation and get more into a practice of, you know, maybe you want to go to Joe's Day Long on the 26th of July. You do. You want to go to that. But even that was super scary for me when I first was like, fuck, I can't, no way. What do you do a whole day of holy shit, you know? And it wasn't that scary. It was just a day to check out by checking in, right? Giving yourself some time just to be in community, to check in with community, to practice, you know? So knowing where you're at in your practice and where, you know, you might need a little bit more attention, maybe a little bit more with the emotions that are arising, especially if you've been meditating for a while. And I see this a lot, and because I've experienced it too, where it's like, you know, the relaxing our nervous system from that first foundation, it's not working. But it is working. It's just opening up the doors for more healing, and it comes from the allowing these feelings to arise and to change our relationship to them just by getting to know them just a little bit, Touch the edges of them. You know, and my words here are always just here to inspire. Try it on for yourself. This is just my perspective. And I feel like we all have our own perspective on what works for ourselves. You know, and that's what I really do love about this group in particular. And what we're cultivating here is it's a try on for yourself, you know. And we are working to get, not working, but have other guests on other nights that maybe will lean into a tradition, you know, that they're really passionate about. So you can learn from that, you know, but you get to choose that, right? Here is just like, just show up, let's hang out, right? You know, and mostly me and Jessica will share some of our experience. And I just been really reflecting on the practice itself. And I've been going through so much of a relationship with my spiritual practice of what really resonates with me. And I just sharing that with you as a inspiration for you to do the same, to be open, because ultimately all these things are just pointing us right back home to our hearts. And this is where we can practice that. This is where we can just give ourselves a little space, connect with ourselves, connect with others. And who knows, maybe you'll levitate. Yeah. So I think those are my words for now. And really the practice is where it's at. The practice of self-reflection. And I'll guide us in a meditation. It's usually about 20-25 minutes if this is your first time. You don't have to go in this bad neighborhood alone. But before we get into that, I want to invite you to take a little stretch break. I would invite you to introduce yourself to somebody that you don't know. Maybe it's someone that maybe seeing for the first time. Use the restroom, go outside, take a stretch, and we'll ring the bell in about 2 or 3 minutes. Yeah. Sometimes I smell it once in a while too. It's out there somewhere. We've smelt it before. Yeah, we've smelt it out there. Yeah. We're assuming. We'll see. Oh, yeah? He's like, what? Okay. Just so I know. They get it too. Yeah. 100%. Very ignorant, but it's just like super wholesome, like your whole friend, like this super quiet, like on the river, doing movies. Oh, no problem. Yeah. Like super good meditation.
Snow is falling all around. 7 o'clock and the roads are blocked. So I walk downtown. There's no one
There's a
around.
meditation place up in San Francisco that our friend Big Park City. Yeah, he comes down there and teaches you. He's great.
I walk in a bar and I need an
Right. Let's get into
I
this.
sense some kind of a total stranger. When did you get that? When take pressure on your face? When did you get that? When take pressure on your face? The streets are dark and there's no one about. I wonder how
Little crack is good.
the lights
Little crack is good. All right, y'all. So just finding a way to be, way to sit, to lay down, get comfortable. And I want to remind you that you're not going to do this wrong. I promise you. No matter how many times the mind thinks, no matter if you go to Snoresville, California, it's just what your nervous system needs right now. Meet yourself right where you're at. That's the effort you're putting in right now. So just taking a few moments here to settle into a posture that feels supportive, sitting, laying down. You can leave your eyes open and gently close your eyes. Again, feeling into what may be most supportive right now. Maybe leaving the eyes open feels more supportive. And also remembering that the invitation here is to settle in and close the eyes and rest in stillness. But if the body needs to move a little bit, you can let the body move. If you feel like you need to open your eyes, if something comes up, you can open your eyes and connect. So inviting you to maybe begin by letting go of this idea that you are meditating. And right now, just maybe you're just shifting awareness inward and just noticing. Notice the wildness of the mind, maybe. So many things stirred up. Plans, memories, curiosity, fear, judgment. Also joy and pleasure. Maybe the mind's ready to settle. And with this first foundation, the invitations to just shift focus, the breath, the body. When I say the body, is how we experience each moment through the body, and that's through our senses. So maybe as we begin, we just shift focus down to the feet. And curiosity is key here. Notice the sensations, the connection, the shoe, the sock, tingling, throbbing. Maybe it's pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. This whole back half of the body pressed into the chair, the cushion, the floor. And just allow yourself to be held right now. And the mind thinks. Mind gets stuck in a feeling. It's not a mistake. It's not a problem. Maybe that's the opportunity. Another opportunity to practice letting go by just letting that be and shifting awareness back. From the feet, the seat, beginning to give these feelings, these thoughts some space just to be. Shifting focus to the breath. This dear old friend, the breath. Just breathing, all on its own. No need to change the way you're breathing. And just notice. This is where the breath comes in. This is where the breath comes out. Notice taste and smell. Expanding the awareness to sounds. These different sounds coming and going. And again, maybe noticing the flavor, the mind, the attitude towards experience, sound. This nature of the mind to cling on to certain sounds, sensations, push others away. Without judgment, we just notice. We name it, we take note. Notice seeing, even with the eyes closed, shapes and colors. Those mental images left over from a thought. Because yes, thoughts still happen. And if you feel yourself being pulled away, some story, plan, memory, name it. And return. And you get to choose. You get to choose place in your direct experience. Place where you can rest. Maybe it's the feet. Maybe it's the sounds. Maybe it's the breath. place where you can rest, if only for a moment, before the next thought takes you away, the next opinion, the next distraction. Remembering that that's not a mistake. Doesn't mean you're doing this wrong. That is the opportunity. That is the practice of awareness. Sometimes the imagination can be super helpful. So maybe imagining as if you're resting somewhere peaceful, calm, place where you can rest and allow thoughts just fly by like birds in the sky, clouds gently passing, thoughts like leaves floating down a river. And you get to rest. Gentle reminder that right now there's nowhere you need to go. Right now there's nothing you need to do. And right now there's no better you need to be or become. You get to rest. Feet, seats, sounds, and breath. You're doing great. And as feelings rise and pass, you can picture them as if they're waves crashing in the ocean, rapids down a river, and simply ripples in a lake. Maybe there's some space here that you can let go of the story of why you feel this way and just explore the question of what are you feeling? Where do you feel it? Sometimes just naming it is good enough. Letting go of the story of why. Validate this feeling. And if it's pleasant, notice what that feels like. You can even invite a pleasant thought, memory. Let it rest in your heart. And let it come and let it go. And here you can practice that skillful effort. And you can reflect on maybe where in your life you could just loosen the grip a little. Holding on a little too tight. Or where you might need to show up with more care and consistency, curiosity. You want to cultivate more of in your life. Notice your effort. you're gripping, when you're ghosting. Where's the middle? Can you hold it softly, gently? And watch this dance. Not about doing it perfectly, but about just feeling your way in. Before we transition here from inner to outer awareness, share some words. Native American proverb. It says, "We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children." And I believe we do the same with our minds. What we tend to today becomes the world we live in tomorrow. So feel into the quality of your effort. Maybe the effort today is just showing up. And that's good enough. Because you're good enough. Just gently bringing your awareness outward, appreciating your practice.